than I was in class too. I have more clarity around my business as a result of last year.
So many people like that. Well, I'm gonna cover it. My whole life.
Okay, so does everybody the handout?
Okay. So, did everybody enjoy lunch? Yes. Great. Well, we are going to have Home Pro come up. They actually sponsored the amazing lunch for us. Definitely love their choice.
Great, healthy choice.
Mr. Levin is actually the second inspector ever hired with Home Pro. He's like been with them the longest.
Right, the first one was Jeff Luther, but some of you may know Melanie, who's been to this office to teach some classes. As was just mentioned, I've been with the company the longest other than Jeff, and basically grown the company now. We've opened up a second office in Charleston, and Jeff has moved out to Charleston with another inspector, and they're starting their growth there. So just a little bit about Home Pro. We provide you, as is mentioned on these sheets, a 3-day guarantee. If you need an inspection done, we will guarantee it'll be done within 3 days. Inspections are turned out the same day. You will get that the same day that we do the inspection. You will get that report. We will also give you your clients a 100-day warranty for anything that was inspected during that inspection. And what's also different about us is the fact that the estimates for repairs are included in that report. So it makes a lot easier for you to do your amendment to address concerns. I'm new at this, obviously. So, sometimes the biggest challenge for us and for a lot of your clients is to tell the age of a roof. And that's a major expense when you're dealing with real estate. And sometimes we just cannot get up close enough to it. A 3-story building makes it almost impossible. So I have my little drone here. I call this one Ethan. And Ethan is because it's from Mission Impossible. So if I can't get up under that roof to tell you folks about how old it is or what the gaskets look like, the boots around the plumbing, Ethan's going to do it for me, and the pictures will be included in your report. So thanks for having us out here today. Go and get some great business plan work in here, so when you guys get busy, hopefully we'll get busy too. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, welcome Amisha and Becky, and thank them for hosting this today. So awesome of you. And also want to remind you to please put your phones on vibrate or silent, which will help us a lot, because I know we'll have a lot of interruptions. So take it away, ladies. Let us know if you need anything.
Okay. Welcome everybody to 2018 business planning. Thank you for having Becky and I. We'll be together approximately 2 hours. So we're going to put a lot of information in 2 hours, and we're going to go deep in some areas, and in some areas not so much. But in those areas are the areas where you can flush it out at home or at your leisure. We're going to focus on the areas where we feel we can be most impactful for your planning for 2018. So everybody have a handout before we get started? Second question. Did everybody complete their numbers before they got here?
Yes.
I won't ask who didn't, but that was kind of weak. If you spend any amount of time on putting your numbers together, you should be really proud of yourself that you're going to get the most out of the class. So again, how many people here complete their numbers before they got here?
I did.
So don't be, let's acknowledge that.
It takes a lot of time and work to do it.
It does, especially if you're not currently using a CRM that tracks those percentages for you. I mean, it took me a little bit of time, and I do track. So I respect people who complete their numbers before they got here. So let's set the intention for the class. Our intention is to help you see your business as a business, thank you, and plan a business that will create a business plan for your business having evaluated 2017. So it's not some new baby you're birthing into 2018, but it's a continuum of 2017. To get so clear about your 2017 that you recognize the blind spots, the opportunities, and where you killed it, so that in 2018 you're running a more refined, efficient business. Does that make sense? Oftentimes, especially if you're new in the business, you start a business based on what you think you can do or what you hope to do. And as business owners, we know that history tells us something about how we perform in the present and how you potentially will perform in the future unless you change something about it. And you can't change something that you don't understand. So that is our intention today, that when you leave here, you'll have the tools to completely flesh out a 2018 business plan and have a clear set of directives to work from for 2018. You may not have that all done, you won't have it done today, and you will have all the tools you need. It makes sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, does anybody else have an intention outside of that? I want to make sure we try to cover it in the 2 hours. If you hope to get something else other than that, let us know now so we can cover it.
I was going to say maybe get some insight on the different systems you all use in your business.
Yeah, we
different
can.
Procedures and things like that.
Definitely. So as we talk, we'll definitely throw in some systems that we're currently using that could help you. Okay? Now we're not going to go into price and all of that, so don't ask those questions. If we say, hey, we use Referral Maker, jot down Referral Maker, go look it up later. Okay? Because we're going to have high-level 5% conversations in here. We're not going to waste time talking about price and where we get it. Google is where you get everything. Got it? Thank you for being brave enough to say that. So our conversation can be more meaningful for you. Next, I'm going to skip over plan of action sheet. So this is something our coach, Becky and I, we coach with Kate Potosky, and one thing that she always has for us, or we always have in our conversation, is a sheet of paper, POA at the top. That stands for plan of action. If you hear something in the class that triggers a thought that, oh, I need to look into that, or I need to talk to that person, I need to meet with this person, write it down on your plan of action. There's nothing like leaving class with a bunch of notes. You may or may not go back and read the notes. Even if you do, sometimes we're slow to action. But having a plan of action sheet can put you in immediate action when you leave this class. And on the plan of action sheet, it can be something as simple as, oh, Amisha said Referral Maker. Look up Referral Maker. Okay? It's different from taking notes. Very different. Plan of action is action-based, quick tasks. Thank you. Who said that? Thank you. It's a task list for you. Okay? Have your plan of action sheet on somewhere that you write or type. Yes, let's do the visualization exercise. You guys, I've been struggling with some anxiety lately, being transparent, and so even as I stand here, I just got a lot going on, like internally, and so I've been practicing mindfulness and some visualization exercises just to help calm my nerves. I'm not nervous to be in front of you, and yet I still just have anxiety. So I'm gonna enroll you in me being more relaxed. So let's do this, you guys. Let's put everything down. Let's stop writing. Let's take maybe 3 cleansing deep breaths. One more. And one more. And this time we're going to breathe in through our nose and we're going to breathe out of our mouth, and we're going to fill our lungs until they just feel like they're going to explode. Be the most oxygen some of our lungs get today. One more time. All right, and so we're going to close our eyes. That means nobody will be looking at me, and I won't be looking at you because my eyes are also closed. And we're going to continue to control our breaths and breathe in and out, in through our nose and out through our mouths. And we're going to imagine that it's January 1, 2019, and we all absolutely crushed our goals. We made the income that we chose to make. We closed the transactions that we decided we were going to close. We bought the new house that we intended to buy. We're driving a brand new car. We paid for it cash. We went on several vacations. We don't have any debt. We worked out. Our bodies are healthy and sexy. Some of us got married. Some of us got engaged. Some of us are holding babies. Some of us had grandchildren. Some of us are happily single and free from responsibility. Some of us retired out of the business because we had the best year of our life. And I want you to feel what that feels like. Experience what that feels like January 1st, 2019. And you look back and you reflect on all these things that happened in your life because you wrote them down, you planned for it, and you got up every day and you gave your business and your life the very best you had to give. You should feel your shoulders relaxing and your heart rate slowing down. And you should be or could be experiencing a deeper sense of relaxation. What colors are you experiencing?
Purple.
Like, what do you smell in the air? What are you tasting?
The ocean.
How about the feeling on January 1 where you've already evaluated your profit and loss? You were extremely profitable and you paid your taxes on time every quarter, and you're looking to get a refund for the first time ever. What a feeling that is to really settle into being a business owner. No, but not just any business owner, one who truly takes care of business. What are your peers saying about you? What is your spouse saying about you? What are your clients saying about you? Are they proud to be in business with you? What does that feel like? And then on 3, we're gonna open our eyes. 1, 2, 3. The energy of the room is so different now. I'm completely calm. Anybody else in here experience some Zen? You know what's cool about visualization is that we created all of that in our mind, and really that's where everything happens, right? Everything we experience, we create. This business, the fact that you got a real estate license and you're here, you decided in your mind one day, oh, I'm going to be a real estate agent, and then I'm going to go to school, and now you're here. And it's no different from all of the experiences you just created in your mind. So anytime you are feeling anxious, like myself, I will go to a place in my mind that gives me peace, and that's the best version of myself. You can access the best version of yourself anytime. You just did at a moment's notice. And even if you have trouble visualizing the best version of yourself, just hearing somebody else describe the best version of their self could also relax you. It may trigger something in you. So, thank you. Now, we can teach in this environment. This is a good space to teach in. You ready? Okay, I'm gonna, would you like me to share impact, or would you like to go? Okay, so we want to share with you the impact business planning has had on our business. I know, I just felt like we gotta touch it. All right, so last year, so I started truly business planning about, I would say about 3 years ago. Actually, when I hired my coach, and I'm gonna be honest, like the first year I I had these lofty goals. There was a disconnect. So here's who I am and how I show up in my business, and then here's always the goal that I have. Okay? And the first year I business planned, and it was like, I'm gonna achieve these goals, and these are the numbers. Send them to my coach all proud, right? And so she's like, okay, so who do you have to become to achieve these numbers? It's like, I am who I am, and I'm gonna achieve these numbers. She's like, but if you were the person that was gonna achieve these numbers, you would already have achieved these numbers, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's like, oh. So, that's often what happens in our conversation. So I go back to the drawing board, and she's like, so you have to decide either you're going to do what it takes to become this person, or you're going to lower your goal. And so I'm not lowering my goal. And then the next year, the year passes, and I don't hit the goal, but I have the best year I've had year to date, right? And I feel good about it, but then my coach is saying, oh, yeah, but you didn't hit the goal, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking about I had the best year ever, and yet you didn't hit the goal. And then the mind will tell me that it's okay not to hit the goal as long as I did better than I did in the past, right? And so the next year, I set more goals, but this time I had a little bit more clarity, like, okay, let me not reach so high. Let me have some meaning behind the goals. Let me bring purpose to my business. And then I have an even better year. I almost double my business. And yet, I still don't hit the goal, right? So then now, 3 years in, she has the same conversation, by the way. And then 3 years in, this last year, I set a goal, and last year, and I'm not hitting the goal this year. And so, but this time is different. So the impact business planning has had. Now I understand what she said 3 years ago. Who do I have to become in order to hit this goal? And either you're going to be honest about that, or you're going to change the goal. But we're not going to partner and be under the illusion you're not going to have to make any change and still hit the goal. Does that make sense? Okay. So what business planning, the impact it's had on my business is it's a mirror. It's a mirror about what I truly do every day to get the result that I'm getting. It causes me to look at what I put on paper and what I said I was going to do and what I'm producing. If there's a gap there, it requires me to have a conversation with myself and to take some different action. If you don't business plan, guess what happens? Whatever you do is fine. So the business plan holds you accountable to what you say you want in life or out of your business. Does that make sense? That's how it's helped me, and it only took me 3 years to get it. I totally look at business planning different now than I did just a year ago. Before I was looking at numbers. Now I'm looking at the story behind the numbers. Now I'm looking at why did these numbers show up the way that they did, outside of me, because I'm the reason why they showed up. But and then what else are the numbers telling me? What are the numbers telling me I need to change? So that is how business planning has impacted my business. It's caused me to be a lot more laser beam focused on how to get results. Becky, you want to share?
I guess my story is a little bit different from this business planning. If I look at who I am today and how I look at that business, the one thing that I think my coach was teaching me 3 years ago, when I first hired her, is that it's taking my mindset from being an agent to being a business owner. Right? You can start out your year by setting these goals, just to say I intend to do 12 transactions this year, make $100,000, great, and then you hit your goals and you're doing wonderful, because for me, all the goals that I've set with Kate, I've hit my goals. Every single year, the money has come, right, for my goals. And yet, the business was never built. And that has been most powerful for me in this journey in 2017 is that my team will hit the numbers that we set out, for 2017, and yet my team will not hit the numbers as well, because it goes back to what was our overall goal. And for us, our goal was building a business that ensured the entire team hit their numbers, not just myself. So part of the goal setting and the business planning was incrementally learning about how do you fast track yourself to becoming a business owner, as opposed to consistently going back into the habit of simply being an agent. And I think the tools that we'll go over really create that clarity and that foundation that the MREA model always goes back to of how do you become an MREA agent? How do you become that millionaire real estate agent? And I think that transition for anybody who has made $1 million it's that transformation of being an agent and being a business owner. And that's the impact that it's had on me, because at our growth rate, we'll likely be the next MREA team, like in this office, and that's our long-term goal, but it requires us to transition ourselves, and that's not just me, but my entire team, of what their commitment is. And the business planning is just about commitment for us. Are you truly committed to what you put on paper, or are you just hoping that happens? Are you creating excuses of why you didn't hit your goal? Everybody has them. There's always a million reasons why you're not going to hit your goals. What reasons are you focusing on that changes you getting to your goal? And that goes back to everything we do in the business planning process.
Yeah, I'm maybe a couple steps behind Beth in that. Kate, we just start talking about operating as a business owner at the end of this year, and the great thing about Kate is that she will meet you where you are. And so I required some steps before having that conversation.
And part of this, why we're doing the business planning, is it's helped us to teach this, which I encourage everybody in here is find your strengths and teach it, because you'll realize you're not as strong as you think, and you actually get stronger in the process. Like for us to be up here, it's not because we've mastered it. We're still on the same journey. We just might be in a different place from you. And our commitment really is to create the conversation around everybody getting to that MREA status. And that's why we're doing all this. So don't come into this with the mindset of, I'm a new agent. What do I refer to? It doesn't matter. There are so many MREA agents who were brand new, less than 2 years in the business. So that is not an acceptable excuse. It really is where are you putting your head at when you jump into this? So we're challenging everybody in here is you're jumping in regardless of what last year looked like, because you're new to the business or the numbers weren't there or any of it. It doesn't matter. It's where do you intend to go and what is your commitment to get there?
You know what's interesting, you said something about new agent. When we talk about being a business owner versus an agent, a new agent is not business owner language. You never go to a new Domino's franchise and they go, we're a new Domino's franchise. No, we're a Domino's franchise. We're held to the same standard as all the other Domino franchises. I don't know why I'm Domino. But the point is that as a business owner, you see yourself as a business. You operate as a business. You think as a business. You speak as a business. So it's no longer, and you guys feel free to correct me today, it's not about my goals, it's the goals of the business. You're not a new agent. You're a business owner. At the end of the day, you are a business owner. So the fact that if you choose to lean on the language of I'm a new agent, perhaps business owner, perhaps reevaluating whether you truly intend to be a business owner or just an agent. Like, make that distinction. And because once you do, it directs your language, your attention, the company you keep, the type of clientele you attract. It directs a lot when you make that distinction in your mind. When you're a business owner, not having a profit and loss is no longer acceptable. I'll share one quick story. Becky and I sat together before teaching the class to compare notes. And all of this, I felt like a business owner in that conversation. Our intention was to go over the notes. And in going over the notes, we looked at data of we're using our real businesses, and all of a sudden, Becky is noticing all these opportunities in my business. We're looking at cost of goods sold. How many people have a P&L? Raise your hand high. Be proud if you have one, regardless if you review it or not. Let's start there. How many people have a profit and loss? Okay. So how many people are familiar with the term cost of goods sold? Perfect. All right. Plan of action. If you don't have one, get one. Okay. If you don't know what P&L stands for, Google it. So we're looking at the numbers, and she looks at the cost of goods sold and realizes that I'm spending a lot of money in one area of my business that may or may not be giving me a return on investment. I'm talking about a lot of money. And we had a business conversation about how much money I was. And then before she brought it to my attention, I didn't see anything wrong with it at all. And she challenged me. Well, could you operate a more lean business? Could that generate more business for you? Would it increase your profit? And now all of a sudden, now I'm irritated because all I wanted to do was go over the notes. But I can't ignore the fact that she saw this big raging red flag that I didn't see anything wrong with. Why? Because I'm pulling a salary and I'm comfortable. That's real estate agent thinking. A business owner says, why are you hemorrhaging money in this area of your business? And until you're having a conversation with other business owners and you're being transparent about your numbers and you have to track numbers to have numbers to compare, you can't engage in a business conversation with another business owner. That make sense?
Yes.
All right, we're going to move on. And we're going to talk about 2018 goals and income sheet. Let's pull that up. We did this exercise last year, right? For those of you who were here. And and we sent this out before you got here, correct?
No, not this one.
Pull it up.
I don't know how to get it to work on the projector.
Remote.
You got it? Yeah. Pointed at that.
Maybe I'm just too short.
Well, they figured that out. The 2018 goal and income plan. Did we not send this out prior to now? Okay, no problem. So everybody pull this out because it's in the handout. Oh, it's on the board now. So last year, I completed this for the first time, and the purpose of this. Can we scroll down? Wouldn't it be cool if this was touchscreen? I mean, up. I'm sorry. Up. Okay, so the 2018 goal and income plan. I did this for the first time last year, it was super, super, super powerful. One of the purposes of this is we believe that you live a life by design. You can truly design your life, and then that life has a cost associated, yes? Yes. And we would be foolish to think that we're going to buy a house next year, put 20% down, and that 20% down payment is not reflected in the income you're going to make. Does that make sense? If we're going to buy a car and pay cash, and the cash for the car is not included in the income you're going to make, how are you possibly going to buy a car and pay cash? So, the idea of this sheet is to calendar and identify all of the vacations, the milestones, the celebration, the educational programs, what big purchases you intend to make, and how much money you intend to save and invest, and what other commitments do you have this year, and what are the costs associated. And I'm tell you, first time I did, I feel this thing up. I'm gonna tell you, I had something. Because my coach says, you have a career where you can make unlimited amount of income. So why not fill it up? What would your life look like if you did fill it up and you achieved all these goals? And I'm thinking, well, why not? Well, CK is real good for just helping you discover a big life. And then later when you do the business plan, you're like, I gotta say, how many houses? But we'll worry about that later. Let's focus on the big life, right? And because I also struggle with having a big why. Anybody in here struggle with a big why? I struggle with a big why. So in the meantime, until I decide what my big why is, I choose to design a life that I can be proud of and that I can enjoy on the journey of discovering my big why. So my big last year I populated it for you guys, and this year I chose not to. So because I want to hear from you all. What are some big vacations that you intend to take next year? Talk to me now. Greece? Perfect. Come on. Costa Rica, great. Italy, great. Come on. Canada. European tour. What I would like for you to do is list those vacations. List the month that you intend to go, if it's not already booked. I typically book all my vacation for the following year in October. I'm an avid traveler, and so I book it out. Let me tell you the difference between me filling this form out this year versus last year. Last year, I put my vacations, I booked them out, and I decided I'm going to build my business around my vacation. That's what I did for like 3-4 years. I just put them up there. And this year I'm a little more smart. So I realized that there's two things that you have to have if you're going to run your business like that. What do you think the first thing you need to have? Leverage. Who said leverage? Yes! What you cannot do is have a huge goal, 75 houses as a solo agent, and go on 5 vacations and think you are going to close 75 houses with no leverage. Even if I only went on vacation a week out of the year, a week for each vacation, that's 5 weeks. That's 5 weeks that my business will go unattended to. Based on my goal of 75 houses for 2018, I have to close a minimum of, is it 3, 6, 9, 12? I have to close 3 houses a week, I believe. I don't have it in front of me. Hey, trust me. The point is, if I go on 5 vacations, that's 15 transactions that don't happen. Okay? So, whereas we're talking about growth, the difference between last year and this year and how you grow as a business owner. This year, vacation is I have 2 vacations scheduled.
Because why?
Because achieving my goal of 75 transactions is more important than the vacations that I want to take. Last year, my vacations were more important. This year, I have a different mindset. Real quick, and a cliff note, the market is shifting. I have to take territory. I have to build a database that I can get a 10% return on and still close 75 to 100 transactions before the market completely shifts? Can I do that and still take 5 vacations? The market is shifting. I need to build my reserves. I need to be debt free. I intend to be debt free. I have to generate enough income to totally wipe out all my debt. What's more important? Hedging myself against the shift that's happening so I don't repeat 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or going on vacation. See, now I'm looking at my business from a different perspective, and I'm more strategic about what I put on this sheet. Because I'm not putting anything on this sheet that I don't intend to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, next, celebrations and milestones, graduations, weddings, birthday. I think I shared with you guys that Kate even had me saving for a wedding, and I'm not even actively dating anybody right now. She says, you don't take me for a type of person that would have a $5,000 or $10,000 wedding. So perhaps you should start saving now. Okay, I'll get right on that. Hey, it's just causing me to think differently. Any big purchases, car, television, appliances, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put the whole cost of the item, not just the down payment. If the car is $40,000, perhaps put the $40,000 on there. Okay, we're thinking big here. Lastly, what else are you committed to this year? Add all of that up. This is the cost of your life for 2017. This is the cost of your desires and your goals. Which, that has nothing to do with what it costs to run your household every month. Okay? So we want to add up your current household expenses. That is your cost of living per month after you add all of that up. You multiply that by 12. You have to add this C by A, which is the cost of your desired life. When you add that up, that's how much you would need to make for you to live, operate your current household, and have this amazing life that you designed. Once you do that, the purpose of this is to bring meaning to why you get up every day. And every day you get up and you choose not to lead generate, or you choose not to go to work, you're saying no to something on the list. Remember that. Like, it would even be helpful for you to cross something off the list if you've gone a whole week and not lead generated. Because essentially that's what you just done. Okay? Anybody have any questions about this form? Anybody have this form already completed? Yes, Virginia.
Can you email that to us? Because I'm going to need some spare ones.
Sure. Sure.
We'll make sure Rachel sends it out.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Becky, you want to talk about calendaring?
We'll dig deeper into the calendaring section after we go through the GPS, but
Okay.
I think what's critical about the idea of calendaring and start planning in your mind is that it's great to have all these lofty goals and have a thought around it, and yet what it's ultimately going to come down to is that how are you managing the time and commitment that it takes to actually get the result you're looking for? And so from that perspective, just know that when you're setting these, and like Misha said, she had 5 vacations, and so taking into account how much time are you really going to be spending on and in your business to get you that result, okay?
Every time you say yes to something, you truly are saying no to something else. Even if you say yes to vacation, you are saying no to something happening in your business. You're saying no to lead generation for that week. That's just a reality. Ready? Okay. So now we're going to talk about, we're going to move on to evaluating your business for 2017. So these are my year-to-date numbers. Full disclosure. These are real numbers, real business. This is closed year-to-date. I am not in a position to project my income or closings through the end of the year, at least until November 15th. Because there's a lot of traction happening in my business right now. Some things may or may not close. So I chose to give you guys my year-to-date. This is not pending. This is not listing appointment schedule. This is what has closed as of today's date. Fair enough?
Yes.
For you, you may be able to project out what your income is towards the end of the year. I still have like a lot of work. I have 30 working days left. Take or give. So I choose not to project out right now. All right. So the purpose of this section is for you to look at your 2017 numbers. Everybody take your numbers out for 2017 right now. We're going to dig deep. And we're going to find out the story behind your numbers. Okay? So, I'll go over mine and hear this information through the lens of looking at your own. Everybody got their numbers out?
Yes.
Perfect. So, my year-to-date appointment. So far, I've gone on 21 listing appointments year-to-date and 20 buyer appointments year-to-date. Okay? My goal was to close 75 transactions this year. That means I would have taken 38 listings by the end of the year and 37 buyer closed. I would have closed 38 listings and closed 37 buyers. Year to date, I've closed 15 listings and 15 buyers for a total of 30 transactions. Okay? 189.47 is the GCI. My net profit is 144. How many people know that your GCI is not what your profit is?
I wouldn't call it a profit either.
Right. You're right about that. There's even more money that comes out of this. This is not what I take home to my household. This is what goes to the business account. This is not what I take home. All right. So there's a story up there right now. There's a story. Just like there's a story, you have these numbers. Somebody tell me give me two quick things you see. Give me the story behind the numbers.
You took too many vacations.
Yes. Yeah, and I actually checked out of my business for 90 days this year. Unintentionally and then intentionally. 90 days I did not work. Full disclosure, I had 3 months of no closings. That takes a lot for me, doesn't it? But I'm giving you real numbers. Real numbers. That's what happens when you check out of your business.
Bonnie.
How did you have 38 listings and only 21 appointments?
That was my question. Thank you. That's the goal.
This is the goal. In order for me to close 75 transactions, I would have closed 38 listings and 37
Sorry, I was reading it for
I was too.
That's okay. Another story. Come on. We're training you to think like business owners. Connie?
Yeah, I was looking at your, hold on, I messed up because I now seen it says estimated, but you have a 50% ratio between your buyer sales and your listings. Is that what you estimated?
I did intend to run a 50-50 business
That's
in
all I meant.
2017.
It looked like you wanted to do 50-50.
I did. Well, that was my intention, and thank you for that. So one win I see up here. Yeah, I did intend to run a 50-50 business. I don't have leverage right now. Is it realistic for an agent to close 75? I hate the word realistic. Is it reasonable for an agent to close 75 transactions with no leverage?
Not with a line.
Wait, let me finish. And run a 50-50 business? No, it is not. That's a huge blind spot for me in 2017. Perhaps what should I run, if I didn't have any leverage and I want to close 75 transactions, what should I have ran?
80-20.
An 80-20 or...
Well, even at 75 units, you still need leverage. Like, let's be realistic about that. There is not a single agent that can run 75 units well without any leverage. That means no contract to close person, which you have,
Right.
no listing entry person. Like, realistically, going back to what Virginia says, it's not. Like, there's no combination. 80%, 100%, you're not going to hit it. Like,
Thank you.
MRA model clearly states after you do an average of 26 units, it's time for leverage.
Thank you. Let's qualify leverage. Leverage can be administrative leverage or it could be agent talent, boots on the ground leverage. Thank you for clarifying that. 75 transactions is a lofty goal for a single agent with no leverage. It's almost a recipe for burnout. Okay, so I did have administrative leverage. I do not have agent talent leverage. So, hey, who said 80-20? Who? Tori. 80-20 would have been a more realistic business. 80% listings, 20% buyers. Why? Because
You're not out with the
time, just sheer time on task. Yes? Okay, plan of action. Big aha. If you don't have leverage and you have a huge goal that requires leverage, perhaps changing the dynamic of your business would be very helpful in you achieving your goal. Make sense? Now, yes, Toy.
Is no leverage intentional for you?
No.
Okay.
You know what? Yes. If I choose not to go out and hire and develop the skill of recruiting and retaining talent, I'm intentionally choosing not to have. I'm going to take ownership. Yes.
Okay.
I didn't put the energy into the leverage. The leverage didn't happen. As a result,
Numbers didn't.
the numbers reflect that.
Right.
You guys see that?
Yes.
It's not like, oh, I can't find it. No, I didn't do the work to find the leverage. Period. Okay? Next, another story of the numbers.
Conversion ratio. Went on 21 listing appointments and actually closed 15 sellers. So what does that say about Amisha's skills?
Good.
Strong.
Right. So when you're looking at your own business, the numbers really tell you where your skills need to be improved upon as you focus and build your skills. So she knows when she looks at her numbers, once I'm in front of the client, I can close them and get it done. So what does she need to focus on in 2018? Generate more appointments. Exactly.
Okay? Let's is there anything else that I want to
So any ahas when you did your own sourcing of business and running your numbers? Okay.
Developing the habit of tracking the numbers is just as important as lead generating.
Right. And what moment caused you to come to that conclusion?
When I realized I had to turn in the number of contact appointments and realized that it would take me hours to try to go back through my planner and piece together a reasonably accurate number as opposed to just taking 5 minutes at the end of every day and putting it in a spreadsheet that I've already got.
Okay. Heather?
I was gonna say for us, especially because I was doing it for our team, and we have all these thoughts, like you get FOMO, fear of missing out, and somebody's doing like a big social media campaign, somebody's doing neighborhood mailers, and if any of y'all know Beth, she gets real distracted. So she feels like we have to spend all this money on random things, but when we looked at where we got our business for the past 2 years, we did, it's her database.
Oh,
All day long. And
hold
so
that.
you have all this money that we were putting to something, and it's not actually where we're getting the business.
I want you to repeat that in about 5 minutes, okay?
Got
Next, last.
So tools to use to do that, to track your.
I use Referral Maker. I love it. I've tried Top Producer, CTE. I've tried. I'm a lot of money into CRMs. I'm not a techie. It needs to be pretty and easy. Referral Maker is what I use. It's the best $350 a year I think.
And I think that if you're not ready to spend the money, a great tracking system is CTE, which our office has paid for everybody to have, and I definitely think it's underutilized. But it's a great tool that is so powerful.
What do you use?
CTE,
That's what they use.
Okay?
our team uses that.
Did everybody get the CTE? It's free. And that I use Referral Maker.
Where do we get CTE?
We're gonna.
We're gonna.
Okay, never mind.
Okay,
It's done.
Okay, let's go. Oh wait, before we move on, anything else? Okay, so sources of business for Mason and Associates year to date. I track where all my business comes from. There's never a piece of business that comes in, I don't know where it comes from. And I do that, and year to date, I have only 4 sources of business right now. There's no business, this is 30 transactions right here, and this is where they all come from. This is the income earned from each one of the sources of business. This is the cost of securing that business. And then here's my net income. Okay?
What is the cost of securing the business for past clients or sphere of influence?
Say it one more time.
What is the cost of securing business for past
Okay,
clients?
so Becky and I think we disagree here. I'm giving you my train of thought. Becky will give you hers. Okay. The cost of securing business for me and how I track my business is any cost that I have to pay in order to close that business. So, past client, in general, not just past client. The money that I pay to the office is a cost of business for me. Because I cannot close a deal and the office not get paid until I hit 100%. My FMLS fees is a cost of business for me. I can't get out of paying that. Okay? My contract.
That's a general cost from either, it doesn't matter from the source of where your clients are coming from.
So cost of securing business is a combination of your expenses and cost of goods sold.
Right.
Okay, just so we have clarity. So that means that for her, in Amisha's case, when she looks at it and says, how much did I spend there? Her expenses were likely marketing. She spent $27,000 on her client appreciation party, all the marketing she does, referral gifts that she sends out, any lunches, dinners, meals that she's out entertaining, those specific people is likely lumped there. Example for, let's say, realtor referrals, that $12,000 is likely the percentage that she paid out to the agents. So when you look at it, you can say like, hey, wow, you have a really healthy business, but it looks like, you know, a great source is the agent referrals, and yet it didn't cost her as much as one of the other areas. Does that make sense?
No, I want you to have clarity.
No, yeah. I mean,
Daniel,
does it?
I have to look a little more into the details to really see the costs from past clients or a sphere of influence. For example, for me, advertisement, it's gonna be the clients that I get from advertisement. That's gonna be the cost, but it's not gonna be a cost added to past clients or the sphere of influence.
Right, and I'm gonna be transparent.
That's
I
why
don't include marketing costs.
I see those numbers pretty high in there. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't include marketing costs in the cost of my securing business. On my P&L, it's a separate line item. My marketing is my marketing.
What'd you spend $16,000 on?
Exactly.
On my sphere?
Define.
What do you do? Are you
I'm gonna define it. $16,000 includes the Keller how much I'm paying to Keller Williams, my FMLS fees, and if I pay.
Let's not follow that. Okay. Yeah.
This is how I track my business. Okay. Any costs associated with if I can't get out of paying this fee to close this deal, it's a cost of securing business. If I close a transaction for $300,000 and I make a 3% commission, did I not generate $9,000 worth of revenue?
Yes.
If I have to pay the office $2,000, Keller Williams $2,000, that is a cost of doing business for me. If I'm gonna sell my business to somebody else and they want to know how much revenue can you generate, right? Because think about this. Can I go? Don't be mad at me. Can I go to Duffy and reduce my cost of securing business? Yeah. So now I sell a $9,000. I get a $9,000 commission. Perhaps I'll get $8,900. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for me, the money that I pay to Keller Williams is a cost.
Okay, so she's basically allocating that. It just happened that when she closed those 15 people, she was paying her cap. And when she closed these 12 people, she didn't pay a cap. So for clarity around it, ultimately, it doesn't always, because it's timing of when your cap is due and who you happen to close, but it was not attached solely because they were a past client.
Right.
Just so we have clarity around that, okay?
So, to flesh this out a little bit more, aha for me is, most people have three general main areas of where their business comes from. So the squirrel Ignore it. Ignore it. Oh, this person is doing a lot of business on social media. This person is doing a lot of business here. Where you've gotten your business in the past is a good idea of where it will come in the future if you put your attention there. Okay? And if you choose to put your attention in social media, perhaps you will generate a lot of business there. What this is telling me is where my attention was. My attention was with realtors, lenders, past clients, in my sphere. I probably will not invest in a social media campaign in 2018. It would be foolish to. The story behind my number says that's probably not the best place to invest your marketing dollars. What are your numbers telling you about where you saw your business came from?
I was just going to say though, but you could, like for instance, we started using social media, but it's targeted to our sphere. So suddenly my own sister is telling me, oh, you're having a great year because I'm posting pictures of the closing.
Yeah, your sponsored ad comes up on my feed like great picture, by the way.
That is my son. I am going to have to give him a raise. But anyway, so literally what I'm saying is I would group that social media. I mean, it's not like to the strangers. It's to the target.
See, for me, that's not a social media campaign to generate new leads.
So I was going to say,
that's a social media campaign towards my database.
Exactly.
I counted it as sphere of influence. I just didn't even have
a business page in order to do a sponsor, correct? Right?
Okay,
Anyway,
that's
no,
outside
I was
of our
just saying.
business
I was saying, don't not do social media. Is what I'm saying.
So.
I get what you're saying.
I get what you're saying.
So one thing that, if everybody remembers last year that Amisha and I both disagreed on was how you plan your next year around your sources of business, right? So if everybody recalls, Amisha's first couple of years in the business, where was your greatest source of business? Open houses. And then she built this amazing database that consistently sent her business. So she shifted her focus and focused solely on her past clients and her sphere of influence because she was able to build a completely different business from that perspective and stopped doing her open houses. And one of the things that I talked about is that part of the keys to getting the growth and consistency in your business is to, one, be in tune with where your business is coming from and the results that you're getting from it. So great. So Amisha looks at it and she's like, next year what I'd like to see is an increase in my past clients. I intend to master it because there's a possible opportunity within an area where you're surprised that you got a couple of pieces of business that maybe the previous year you didn't. So it's always an opportunity to look at it and say, what if in 2018 I continue to master to ensure that I have the consistency for the business of where I got it last year, and now I have time to add another source. So I was at the pig roast and I was talking to an agent. Make sure she's not in here. Okay, so I was talking to an agent and we had the conversation of, where are you building your business at? And she said, when I first started, I did all these open houses and then I stopped because now I'm doing this instead. And so then the next year she was like, I said, did you hit your big goal? She goes, no, I didn't, but I did really well. And my question to her is that what would it have looked like if you continued your original source, added your secondary source, and mastered it? Could that have been the reason for the gap between your goal and where you were actually at in your business? And I think that's part of that journey, is ensuring that as you're building these great sources, that you continue to find additional sources, maybe just ideally one, so that you don't have a bunch of squirrels running around, to add to your business to ensure you have that growth. Because potentially, if you continue to do the same, you may not have growth. You may end up with the same great business, and if that's what you're looking for, great. But if your goals have increased, what are you doing differently to add to your business?
That's a great feedback. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes.
Because I'm gonna, so we're gonna dig deeper into the percentages.
Before you get off of that last one, what did you have open houses this past year? You didn't do any?
No.
So that's all of you. Those are, I guess, okay.
Yeah, that's 30 transactions. That's it.
You ought to be doing open houses if that's how you got.
I'm gonna touch on that in a minute.
Out of the miles of bags.
Yes.
The first thing when I'm looking at your numbers is, there needs to almost be another column that says, you got 4 of the past clients, divide by the net income, and then you can figure out.
I'm already. Next slide.
I got that covered.
I'm sorry. I got you.
Oh, you get to that?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Your expired, why is expired listings for sale by owners? Were those things you're gonna do or thought about doing?
No, I don't know. I didn't want to do them. I don't want to do them, and yet I'm gonna get to that.
Okay. I was just wondering why they were up there.
No, but they were up there because actually I tracked 12 sources, business sources. It's not that I can't get up this both.
Right.
If I get one, I'll track it. But
You have your GeoFarm.
But I didn't generate any business.
This is just a screenshot.
I cut
of
this
what
screen
actually.
short.
Oh,
There's
oh,
like
okay.
12,
Okay.
8
Okay.
more sources of business.
Okay.
But there's nothing on there.
Okay.
So
So I
she did
cut
have
it.
an intention for the other areas, because I think
Right.
that's what you were
That's
trying
what
to
I'm asking. Did
Yeah.
you intend to get business from those other areas?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So keeping in mind that my goal for 2018 is 75 transactions yet again. Keep that in mind. Think about what your goal is for 2018. Number of transactions, okay? Keep in mind, go back real quick. Keep in mind, one more time. Keep in mind that if my goal is 75 transactions, you think about your goal. I cannot run a 50-50 business with no leverage, no boots on the ground leverage. And none of these sources of business, all of these sources of business have one thing in common. What is it?
People you know.
Database, relationships.
Face to face.
You?
What'd you say, Tosh?
So you're touching them.
Yes, and there's a common thread between these sources.
Pass.
Come on, business owners.
It's more face to face, isn't it? What you're doing?
Come on.
Relationship.
Networking.
Relationship.
Relationships, I already have, they are by
Follow.
referral. Do you see that? They are by referral. So, blind spot for me, which is, but that wasn't so blind, but I thought I could get around it. I have no control over the price point or type of business that's referred to me. I have to work what I get. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I have to run a listing heavy business and I work by referral, can I control the number of listing referrals referred to me? That's what. No, I can't. If I call you and say, hey, Bonnie, I have a referral for you. It's a great $180,000 cash buyer. Would you like it?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I get 10 of those calls, but my goal is to run a listing heavy business because at some point I can't service 10, 15 buyers at one time. Do you guys follow me? What is the story behind your numbers? The story behind my numbers is that if I choose if I choose not to hire leverage and I choose to run a listing heavy business, I have to have a source of business that I can control the type of business that I'm getting. I can control that I'm getting listings. I can control the price point of the listing that I'm getting. It's unrealistic for me to think that I'm going to generate 55 listings and these people are magically going to refer them to me. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Some changes have to happen in my source. Can we move on? So I broke it down, dig deeper. What do these numbers mean? Currently, these are real numbers. I have my realtor relationships. I have 34 referring agents in my database. 34 agents that have sent me business to close at one point or another. This year to date, I've closed 12 transactions. I'm getting a 35% return on my realtor relationships. This is really high. Okay? My average commission, however, on these relationships is $2,800. What is the story behind these numbers?
Cost of goods.
It costs a lot to attain that.
It costs a lot. It costs a lot to be in relationship with these realtors. The cost of business is high. And then on top of that, what else? There's something glaring. Glaring.
Price point.
Price point is low. So apparently I'm a vat of low-hanging fruit for these agents. And sending me these $100,000 deals, they don't want to work. Okay? What's the other stuff?
Are these agents in Atlanta or out of town?
All over.
Okay.
I have one wherever. The agent is an agent. 25% is the same, no matter where it comes from. That's what girls know. Okay, thank you, Becky. Repeat clients. I have 139 closed transactions in Atlanta. I closed 4 repeat client transactions year to date. My return on my closed clients is 4.17. The average commission on my closed client is $75.29. All right. What is this? Where's the blind spot? Where's the opportunity here? What are the numbers telling me?
Take care of those people. Increase that number, your return.
You only got
that
4
category.
out of.
Okay. Tori says take care of those people.
How much did you invest in those?
Increase my med database. So if I double my med database to 300 and I got a 4% return, what is that? 12 transactions? 12 transactions, multiply 12 times 7,500. Anybody have a number?
$90,000.
$90,000. So you mean to tell me if I added an extra 140 people in my database, by default, I would make an extra $90,000. Take 140 people and divide it by 12. You guys, high level conversation. Stay with me.
161.
61 people.
161 divided by 12.
161 divided by 12.
13.4.
13. If I meet 13 people a month and put them in my database, quality people, met, face to face, voice to voice, I will make $90,000 more. Do you see the story behind the numbers? Do you see how important it is to have numbers? Now, I'm going to spend time going and find some more realtors to refer me business because that's easy. I mean, they really do just call you and send you a referral fee. Referral form. It's great. You don't have to put a lot of energy there. Thank you.
So what's your plan of action with that? Do you just continue to take those referrals that are low-hanging fruit, or do you?
I will always take the referrals that are low-hanging fruit. What I will do is increase the other. I will focus on. I will focus on the second slide. I will focus on what's my greatest opportunity, which in this case, we have to skip 2, but I have 4 examples. I had broke it down for all 4, and the biggest commission was. What was it, y'all?
Close past clients.
Past clients. So to increase that, to filter, nurture those relationships.
So you're gonna work that harder, and you're gonna just let the,
not harder, smarter.
Let the referral come.
Right. I will.
If you're going out to get them, you're working hard.
Well, smarter. I don't like
Smarter
going
too.
hard. Yeah. No. Smarter. I will
With some
put
of these ahas and why they think that they would jump into action and consistently go through all of their lead sources. Is it worth your time to break things down the way that Amisha has?
Yes.
How many are you actually going to do that?
Yeah.
Did everybody write it down on your plan of action?
I would like to
Any
go
big
back to
ahas?
one missed opportunity. I see the time. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Because I think this is the right here. My vendor relationships, I'm getting an 11% return on. This was the aha for me. I'm getting an 11% return on my vendor relationships. That's
not bad.
no.
What is not bad? What percentage are you getting that you think that's not bad? I'm just curious. Because this should be a huge, powerful slide for most people.
What do you think is average?
0.
Let's think about that. What
I'm
do
with
you,
Virginia. 0.
how many people are getting referrals from their vendors?
Very few.
So right now you're getting a 0% return on your relationship.
I think people are asking.
Yeah.
How many people give referrals out to vendors?
Everybody does.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Do you see the story behind the numbers?
Doors going one way.
Do you catching it? So if you're currently getting none and you can increase it just to 5% based on your average price point, what is that missed opportunity? And it doesn't have to be from lenders. Mine just happens to be lenders, but yours can be inspectors, attorneys, plumbers, electricians. Anybody you send a referral to, I have no problem asking for a referral back. Okay? And understand what that is. Average commission is $4,900. Higher than the realtors. The vendors pay more than the realtors. Because they don't want a referral fee. They just want you to keep using them. Aha. Okay? Okay, move on. So the purpose of digging deep is to identifying and addressing your blind spots in your numbers and your percentages will increase your income immediately. As soon as I saw how low my commission is for the realtors, what do you think I did?
Fire.
I'm having a conversation with my referring agents. Okay? That is a what problem? That's a script problem. Because I've given agency impression I can close the low-hanging fruit. Okay? So that was a blind spot that perhaps, I can look at it like, these agents love me. No, leave it to the garbage can. Okay? Quality of relationships. How many people realize, wait, if an agent is getting 11% return on our vendor relationships and I'm getting 0%, but I still send a lot of referrals out, perhaps there's a blind spot in the quality of the relationship I have with my vendors. That's what looking at the numbers does for you. It exposes opportunity. Do you have a time management issue? Are you going on listing presentations and you're averaging 1 out of every 5 list, like you're not getting a listing? Like 1 every 2. You're 50% conversion rate. That could be a script. That could be a script and a presentation issue. Okay? Do you have a leverage issue? I had a leverage issue. I had a script issue. I had about 5 clients unsubscribe from my email. Like, I sent them a client appreciation invitation and they unsubscribed. That is a quality of relationship issue. Don't be under the illusion, and I'm not projecting, that everybody loves you. Okay? Have a litmus test. And then it could be in your message. And when I talk about message, I'm referring to when people think about you, what do they associate you with? Do they associate you with recipe cards and pretty pumpkins and pop buys? Or do they associate you as an economist, as a strategist, as a business owner? Are you projecting the message of your business in a way where agents don't send you low-hanging fruit? Perhaps I have a message issue. Clearly, I do. Okay? Here's the biggest aha, and then I think next I'm going to close, is that outside of me taking some unintended time off my business, from my business this year, what was it, 11 or 12 transactions from agents, caused me to be so busy and making so little money that I was under the illusion I was killing it, but my income was not reflecting that. And I don't want to be busy cashing $2,800 checks. It's the same amount of energy to close a $500,000 listing. Can I control getting $500,000 listings? Yeah, I could change where one of my sources of business is and start calling FSBOs expired and circle prospecting. That requires me to do something different. What are the missed opportunities? This is what you're going to be looking at in your current business. What are your missed opportunities? Where's the best use of my marketing dollar? Am I conveying a message to my referral partners that's in line with my desired goal and outcome? What relationships are most profitable per transaction? For me, it was repeat clients. Who sends me the most business? Realtors. Who send me the most cost-effective business is vendors. And who made me the most money was my sphere. And at the end of the day, this is where I need to be spending money. And where did I spend most of my time in 2017?
On vacation.
On vacation. Not really on vacation, but tapped out. Right? We're in month 10. And for 3 months, I didn't work. So, it takes about 60 to 90 days to revamp your business when you check out. How many are familiar with that? Right? So essentially, I lost about 6 months worth of time, and we only have been in business 10 months this year. So more than 50% of the year, I have not been generating quality business. But I was so wrapped up in these transactions that I was being referred by these agents that I didn't realize it until last month. I'm about to be broke. I'm going to be broke if I don't get out and take control of my business. That's what numbers will do for you. It'll tell you the story. Do you guys see the story of my business?
Oh, yeah.
Once you know the story, you can change it for 2018.
Question.
I get the business model and the plan that most people, and this is probably wrong, they think of it as at the end of the year they're going to look back on that business plan and check it only one time, which is probably not what you do. So how many times would you say you checked your business plan throughout the year that could allow you to pivot if you needed to make some corrections on where your business is coming from?
How many coaching calls did we get? 40?
40. The MREA answer is every single week.
Yeah, well.
Right.
I checked my business plan 40 times this year. Every time I got on a call with my coach, the first thing we do is look at the business plan, where we are in relation to where we said we were going to be.
Are you?
Did I know that I was not hitting my goal before now? Yeah. Did I know that I was my price point was too low before now? Yeah, I knew that a long time ago because I'm checking my business plan every week. Was I under the illusion I was going to hit my goal? No, I was real clear after second quarter I wasn't going to hit the goal. And what did I do? I tapped out of my business. Right? That's what I did. That's what I chose to do. That's what I have to take ownership for. So, you're right. You do need to check your business plan at a minimum of every single week. And after you check it, don't be afraid to face what it's telling you.
And part of your business planning is taking into account what you're going to do. So I missed 9 weeks this year so far from the business for personal reasons, 9 weeks, and yet my numbers were still there because I was consistently in communication with my business coach of how much more do I need to do? Since I only have 3 weeks left, what do we have to make happen in the 3 weeks? So you can create that hyper focus where for our team, we had a period of time where we're so behind goal. What action do we need to take to catapult us? Jen and I took Bold. I have not taken Bold in forever. We committed to Bold, and as a team, we wrote 21 contracts in that time period of Bold. And all I had was the 7 weeks because I was checked out for 3 weeks immediately after Bold had ended. So that's part of the business planning and consistently looking back. We came into the year basing our time in the business as 10 months. We balanced the business around a 10-month plan, not a 12-month plan. So that tells us how many more appointments we have to go on when we are in the business towards the end of the year. So part of it is it's a choice that you make along the way of what you plan to do if you're not hitting your goals.
So now we're going to transition to any questions about evaluating your 2017? Anybody have a little bit more clarity about what you're looking for beyond the numbers when you evaluate your business for 2017?
Are you taking numbers in like 2018, January, February, the first quarter of 2018? Are you attributing those back to 2017, the last 3 months of 2017? Because that business came in the beginning of 2018, but you actually started generating it in 2017? Or do you really just go calendar date, January 1 to December 31st?
There's two answers to your question. Did you hear his question?
Yes.
Okay, so right now, in order for me to hit my 2018 goals, I have to go into the year with 9 pending, period. Whatever it is I close out with 2017, I have to have 9 pending going into the new year. If I don't have 9 pending going into the new year, the likelihood of me catching up is, okay? And yet you can't catch up. So, when I track my numbers, I'm tracking from calendar year. The 2 different type of plannings. You do realize that we're focused on first quarter right now while we're closing out 2017, right? You follow me?
Sure.
So there's 2 answers to your questions. Yes and no. Yes, I do factor in that I have to have 9 pending going into the new year, which means I have to generate 9 extra transactions right now. And no, at the end of the day, even if I write a contract and it's pending past December 31st, I don't include that in closed transactions because it did not in fact close. Only the closed transactions at December 31st. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so last year this was a fun exercise, so we decided to make it easy on everybody, and we put together this spreadsheet that will actually help you kind of tweak and play with the numbers and not have to do the calculations yourself. So does everybody have it opened up and ready to kind of enter into the data? Okay, so the first question everybody's going to ask is, what if I did not track my numbers? What if I didn't track the number of listing appointments I went on? How many appointments in comparison did I take? How many of the closings occurred as a result of the listings taken? And so we are going to give you general numbers to work from. And if you tracked it, then you're in a great place. And if you didn't, part of your plan of action would be is to create a system to ensure that you're tracking these numbers so that next year you'll be more prepared for the business planning perspective, okay? So let's kind of start. Our goal right now is to simply do data entry. You know, the questions behind it, we will do that once the sheet is fully complete with the numbers entered. Same page? Yes. Okay, let's start off with your conversion rate. When you go on a listing appointment and the seller signs and hires you, what percentage of the time does that happen? So if you are a new agent, the MREA model suggests that you use 50% as your conversion rate. Okay, if you're more seasoned, you know, it could be anywhere from 60 to 90%. It just goes back to where you get your business from. Your percentages might be lower if you target for sell by owners or expired, but if it's all spirit driven, your percentage might be greater. So just enter what that percentage is right here. Okay, which is cell B6. Okay, so next, this same rate is for the buyers. When you meet with a buyer, what percentage of the time do they sign the buyer's brokerage agreement and hire you? Same percentage. If you're a brand new agent, 50% is what the MREA model suggests. And again, if you're seasoned, that variation of where your business is coming from. Okay, so maybe you are paying for Zillow, so your percentage and hits might be a lot lower. They say for an online business, it's 10%. Okay, so the next line is your conversion ratio. Once they've hired you, what percentage of the time do you meet them again at the closing table? So again, if you're a brand new agent, it's going to be 50% of the time. And then as you're seasoned, you guys can kind of play with that percentage yourself. So everybody will complete it for the seller and the buyer. Okay, everybody got their percentages in place? Next is, what is your average sales price? Whether you're on the listing side or on the buyer side. The average sales price in Atlanta is $215,000. So if you're not really sure, you're a brand new agent, I think 215,000 is a reasonable number for the average, okay? Some people have a higher listing average, and their buyers might spend more. Like for us, our team is, our buyer price point is always higher than our seller price point because most of our clients are kind of moving up. Okay? So everybody enter in their averages for their sales price for both sellers and buyers. Okay, next section is commission. Most cases it'll be 3%, but if you have been tracking what your percentage is, this is a great way to kind of plan for it. Some agents give a discount if they're buying and selling with them. Some might do concessions for repairs, things like that. So enter in your commission. Okay. So.
It's really important to track how much, it's really important to track your average commission. Tracking that will expose some opportunities for growth, or it'll let you know you're doing a really great job. If you're consistently giving money away at the closing table to make a deal happen, that is, and we all do it, and the frequency at which you do it could expose potentially a script or a skill issue. Do you guys understand where I'm going with that? If you're consistently getting 3% and you at the end of the year realize you're averaging 2.5%, you're giving away 0.5% that a simple script problem could bring to maybe 2.75. To plus it, that's a low level conversation. A higher level conversation is you can start taking 7% listings so that when you do need to give concession, you're still averaging 6 or 6.25. Do you understand where I'm going with that? Okay, don't be under the illusion that you're giving money to get AC fixes and roof repairs and warranties and you're still bringing home 3%.
And so, what else is important about the other numbers that are on here? About tracking your listings taken, tracking your actual getting to closings. What does that tell you based on your percentages?
How efficient you are?
Yes, very much. How efficient you are. Also helps you gain clarity around where your skills need to be improved upon. For some people, it's getting the lead to an appointment. For some people, it's the appointment to actually getting the actual listing. Others, it could be getting the listings and actually getting it to closing. So as you track this, like what's great, and I hope that everyone will continue to use this, is at the end of the first quarter, you should go back into this with the numbers that you've done to say, are my percentages off? Do I need to change my goal in any way and how I get there based upon the ability to improve this? Because one of the challenges that I had from my coach was, what if we just increased your ratio from 80% to 90%? What if we just focused on getting a 10% increase in your conversion ratio? What does that do to your business? And when you run those numbers, you're like, wow, I can talk to 100 less people. I can go on 5 less appointments. Like, and that really empowers you on how are you looking at who you are, how you show up, and how you impact others, and the voice that you're creating to lead them where they need to go. Okay? So, next part goes back to this corner right here. The MREA model of assumption of your cost of goods sold and your expenses is 41.6%. Sorry. Right? Did I do that right? I mean, RJ? Well, we'll add in the numbers and I'll add up. So, to figure out what your cost of goods sold is, let me explain to you exactly what a cost of goods sold is, okay? It's always going to be at least some number because you pay your CAC, right? Which includes company dollar and your royalties. That's $18,000 a year that we all pay, right? Great news is it's capped at $18,000 a year, right? Another cost of goods sale is referral business. If you're consistently paying out agent referral fees, that percentage could be higher. If you're building a team and you have a showing partner or a buyer's agent on your team, that's a percentage of your cost of goods sold. So it's anything that you ultimately will pay if and only when a deal closes. It has nothing to do with any other costs along the way. It'll come out of your check the day of closing. That is considered your cost of goods sold. Is everybody clear on that? Okay, so MREA model is 29.2% once you get to the next level of having somebody on your team. Otherwise, it can kind of vary. I would say you need to at least put about a 10% minimum cost of goods sold. Prepare for your cap and, you know, any other like possible concessions along the way. Okay? So the next one is expenses. What are some expenses? What is the definition of expense? Does anybody have that? I'm sorry. Office bills? Okay, great.
Marketing in there?
Yeah, marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gas to drive your buyers around.
Gas to drive your buyers around. Lock boxes. Signs.
Education. Education.
Education, yes, definitely.
and all expenses.
Salaries or
Salaries, all other expenses, yes. So that goes there. MREA model says that a healthy business runs at 29.2%. Your expenses may be a little bit less if you have not hired leverage and you don't plan on hiring leverage the following year. Or your percentage could still be at that 29.2% if you spend a lot of money higher than typical because part of your business is farming, advertising, Facebook ads, things like that. So kind of entering what your percentage of expenses are here.
To piggyback on expenses, you can go to QuickBooks Online, pay $9 a month, connect it electronically to your business bank account, and every time you swipe your card, or every time a bill is paid, QuickBooks will automatically categorize it. You have to set up the categories. I would strongly suggest getting a category list from your CPA.
Actually, the MREA chart of accounts is what you should be following.
Okay, that too. The point is, it's easy to track your expenses so you're not guessing at it. You can automate this. And you may look at it once a week and make sure that QuickBooks populated all your charges. But for $10 a month and maybe an hour a week, you can definitely get a good idea of what your true expenses are and see if they're in line with the MREA model.
Any questions about this area?
what'd you say cost of sales is supposed to be on?
29.2%.
For cost of sales too?
For both.
Together? Together or?
Separate.
It is.
Oh, so cost of goods is 20.
So expenses is 29.2% and cost of goods of sales is 29.2% per the MREA model.
You said, for cost of goods sold, the minimum was 10.
I would say about 10.
Same
Yeah.
with the other?
For
Minimum
expenses.
Expenses, yeah.
Like you have to be realistic about some of your expenses. Like a lot of cases it's higher. Like I think expenses, regardless of what your business is, you're probably close to that 29.2%. Do you guys agree?
Where do taxes come down?
Comes in after. It's not accounted for in here. The MREA book does not even talk about your taxes. Everything is about how much money the business makes independent of your taxes. Okay? And then ultimately, because you're planning with the end in mind, what is the net income you're walking away from with? What is your goal of how much you're putting in your pocket? This is not your gross commission income. It's just what is your goal of how much money you intend to put in the bottom line of the business? How much money is the business going to net?
That's still before tax.
Before taxes. Because again, the model does not account for your taxes because it's too many tax brackets to account for. So everybody got their number entered? Okay, let's move on to the listings needed form. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm just reading. Sorry. On your basic economic model, I'd like for everybody to write down the following numbers. How many sellers sold? Write that number down. Second, write down how many buyers sold. And what is that total? Does everybody have that figured out? Is anybody not planning to run a 50-50 business next year? No? Okay. So figure out what your percentage is. What percentage of your business is going to be listings? You only have to change that one number. It's set up at the 50-50 because the MREA model does say that if you're truly leveraging your listings, you would still ultimately be running a 50-50 business. Because if you take a listing, you should at least close one buyer off of it. So when you're skewing it, you have the possibility of you're taking all these listings, but you're not leveraging any income opportunity from the listing itself. So just be cognizant of that if you decide not to run a 50-50 business. And if you have the luxury that your listings could be higher, maybe it's an opportunity for you to hire a buyer's agent or find somebody to refer the buyers to if you're not building a team. I'm sure we have agents in here that would take referrals. Okay.
Should be on low hanging fruit. 2018.
And then take into account what your conversion rate is from listings taken to listings closed. Whatever that percentage is, write that down.
It is so much better than doing the math. The spreadsheet does it for you.
Okay. So here, you're going to fill in the numbers in the gray. Okay, so those who have taken bold probably have already gone through this exercise as well, but your number of closed transactions will go where E5, where the 45 is. So enter in the total of sellers and buyers that you determined from the last tab. Okay, and so then you enter what percentage of your closings will be listings into that 50%. If it's 50-50, you can keep it the same. And then what percentage of the time do your listings actually close? Which was the last number that you guys wrote down for the listings and for the buyers. And then you have your average days on market. The MREA model calls it average days on market, but our business coach actually has us looking at it differently. How we look at it is from the time you go on your listing appointment until the time you actually close. Because one of the blind spots that my coach found in my business is I'll go on a listing appointment today and it takes 21 days for that listing to actually hit the market. So that increased my days by 3 weeks. So I was managing everything and I'm like, yeah, but I sell them so quickly. I'm like 5 days, average days on market. She's like, it's actually not 5 because it took you 21 just to get there. So 21 plus the 6. Plus, are you accepting contracts on average that are 30, 40, 50 days? How many days are you accepting for closing as well? All of that gets added in to really understand how quickly does your business turn over. So, by definition, for us, the average days on market is going to be from listing appointment all the way to the closing date itself.
I want to piggyback on that. Blind spot, I don't even know if this was a blind spot, but an observation in the past 6 months in my business, our coach discovered that my listings will go under contract very quickly, but I'm having to sell my house 3, 4, 5 times. Meaning that I'm going under contract, buyer terminates and due diligence. Go back under contract, buyer terminates. Go back under contract, we finally get a 30-day contract, we close. I'm averaging close to 95 days. Averaging. Now, does that happen every listing? No, but it's starting to happen a lot more often than not. So I'm taking into consideration that either A, the market is either slowing down, B, it could be a pricing issue, C, it could be a script issue, it could be I'm not looking at the offers that I'm taking closely, it could be just the market. But nevertheless, it's taken me 3 months to get to the closing table on many of my listings, and I have to factor that in. I'm not taking it personal. You understand what I'm saying? It just is what it is.
But could you find some efficiency in it? Like for me, it was, are you going into your listing appointment setting the expectations that your clients need to be on the market within 10 days? Just by cutting down the 21 to 10 days significantly impacts your business once the numbers are run consistently. If you keep playing around with those numbers, you'll see how much more listings you have to take because it takes you longer from time of appointment until closing, and it helps you really look at your business to say, where are the tweaks and where are the skills that I need to improve upon? Okay, so once you've entered all that, you'll do the same with the buyer section. Right? Enter your close goal.
I'm sorry. I have a question between the number 1 and number 3. What's the difference between those two goals?
Number 1 and number 3.
Yeah.
So the difference is that the idea of this is it takes into account fallout. It takes into account that even though it kind of gives you that buffer between where you think your skills are at and what could potentially be the case. So you're not underestimating some of your goals.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, is the number of closed transactions goal 45, is that your total for the year, or is that just
That's buyers
for the
and
buyer?
sellers that we had
45
you at.
is to the seller.
Do what?
So you have 45 seller transactions and 45 buyer transactions?
So you were to take the number of sellers you were closing plus the number of buyers you were closing to give you the total number.
Okay.
So that's your total number of goals. So if you had 12 sellers and 12 buyers, your goal is 24. Because we're not going to split up the goals. Because remember, it took into account what percentage of your closings are sellers and what percentage are your buyers.
All right.
Okay, so it accounts for that. I don't understand all the background between all the numbers, but they're good for really tracking where your business is going.
But this is what
I'm
we
sure
did
there's a
last
reason.
year, or this is what we want to do next year?
Do next year.
Next year.
This is your goal for next year. Because on the basic economic model, you were planning for 2018. What is your goal for your net income in 2018? Any other questions? Jim?
What's line 7 exactly?
It takes into account the relationship between your buyers and your sellers. I don't know by definition what it is. I just copied what the MRAA book uses.
We couldn't figure that one out either.
Yeah. So it's
But it automatically calculates, so you didn't touch it anyway.
yeah.
You didn't.
But is that buy? Are we doing buyers there or sellers?
Oh, actually, that should say sellers. Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh,
the
okay.
confusion. Yeah.
That's why I was.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you have a 90% closing rate, you need to have 28 listings to get 25 to close.
Yeah. So it's dividing.
Yeah, because you have a 90% conversion rate.
Yeah. So it's dividing line 9 by line 10.
Gotcha.
Again, I think the focus just goes back to you're getting to the number that you need to focus on. The mechanics of it aren't as important as just having clarity around the number itself.
So the average days on market for the buyer is, again, from contract to close?
From the time you meet with them and they hire you as an agent until the time you close with them. I mean, based upon what our coaching has done for us, I think that builds a lot more clarity. Because it could be that you realize that you might put 60 days down, then you realize if you go back and look at your buyers, most buyers it takes you 3 months to actually put them under contract. having that 3-month difference impacts how many buyers you have to carry at all times.
How many people have walked around and said, oh, I'm working with 5 buyers? And then the next month, oh, I'm working with 5 buyers. And then the next month, oh my God, I got 7 buyers. But they're the same 5 and 7 buyers. You didn't generate more business. It just took you 90 days to even get them under contract, and then another 30 days to close them. So for 4 months, you've been under the illusion you have 7 buyers, and you really only had
0.
7 buyers. You were under the illusion you had 7 buyers every month.
Yeah.
7 new buyers every
No,
month.
you don't.
It's not the case.
Yeah, so if you know if you happen to have slow buyers, you just have to have more.
Yes, and so the point of this helps you determine how many you need to carry at all times.
At all times.
Has everybody filled in all that information? Okay, then let's go to the goal sheet. So this is what I added after Rachel, because I was like, you know what, we just need a summary to know what we're focused on, forget all the other mess that was over in the other sheets, right? So this is what you can build your plan around. So based on all the information that we entered, in order to make $100,000, you really take into account your cost of sales and your business. You need to at least get gross revenue of $125,000. What does the correlation between those two numbers tell you? How do you feel about them now? Is there any ahas around once you've completed everything and you have the numbers in front of you? Anything? For me, it was I need to make a lot more money than I thought to get to the number I needed.
Yeah, an agent says I'm going to make $100,000. A business owner says, in order to make $100,000, I have to generate $125,000 in business.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
And it splits down how much money, where are your income sources. Half of them were sellers, half of them were buyers.
Can you just tell me again, number 5, annual expenses and cost of sales? So that includes the CAC,
yes,
and that does not include advertising.
It
or
does include it.
marketing.
Mm-hmm. So when you entered in those percentages for both, it pulled in them combined here.
And you were saying how much to spend in marketing that we should?
You can, I don't know the exact of what the MRA model, but it's in the MRA book. It's for you to know, that's a great point is that when you're looking at your P&L, how do you know that you're operating within the model? And if you pull up the percentages in the MRA book, it actually allocates what percentage, if you're making, however much should you be putting in different categories. And part of it is it tells you, crap, like for Amisha, I've spent too much money on leverage. And maybe not enough money in advertising, not enough money in marketing to ensure that she's getting more business because her leverage is eating up all of her profits. She's not allocating her money in the different areas. Other ahas when you're doing the percentage is that it also tells you, maybe I don't have enough leverage. Maybe I need to spend more in marketing. Where are your return in your marketing areas? Things like that. Is anybody in here taking the agent financials class? No? Tasha did, yeah. Was that not phenomenal?
Yes.
Oh my God. When that agent financials come back to town, it's $100. You're in there full day, and it brings so much clarity around understanding how to interpret the numbers of your business. Because there's so many different ways of looking at it. You just need to, because you're intimate in your own business, it helps you learn and understand how do you interpret the numbers to create your plan of action around it. So that's definitely a great class to take to add to your growth plan.
These numbers are not adding up to me, and I'm not understanding why.
It don't add up to me.
I think line
So,
17.
first of all, the 62 and the 62 is not 125.
62.5.
So I'm and the
Wait,
annual expense. Where I really got caught up.
62.5 and 62.5 is 125.
That is.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's not where I was hung up.
That's
Number 5
different.
is where I'm hung up. I thought that number was 40, was the 52%, the 29.2 and the 29.2.
No, your net income was the amount that you entered there.
That's half of 125.
The percentage, this percentage here, number 5, is that, if I did,
Okay, so if you were to look back at your annual expenses and cost of sales, based on the percentages that you entered, that amount based on your net income goal will be reflected here. So just go back and look at your spreadsheet. If everybody go back to the basic economic model.
See, she
what
has 20%.
expenses- She had 20.
She didn't put in 29%.
that's my confusion, because I thought you would.
Yeah, you're
you
following
had us-
your spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look
Right.
at your spreadsheet, do the numbers line up? Does it line up for everybody? Yes. Right?
Got it, Todd?
You got it?
So MREA's number is 29.2, but your number, if you track it, and you look at your P&L, it could be 25, it could be 30.
Gotcha. But that's where I was getting hung up. I heard you say 20.
Go back where?
The next
So
slide.
assuming model number.
Can you see line 17?
Line
The last slide.
Oh, no, sorry. Go, last slide. Back to goal sheet.
That's the goal sheet.
On number line 17, it says 14 monthly sold. Monthly buyers sold is 14. Is that right?
That's where I just.
It just may be,
I don't know. Oh, you're right.
it's just got a wrong
You
number.
just need to add, divide by 12. Did it work for you? Can you add, divide by 12 into the formula? Okay, I'm gonna show the formula so everybody sees what I did.
It wasn't correct.
So if you go into your toolbar,
Yeah.
okay, are you gonna go into your toolbar? See, have you done that? If everybody will go into their toolbar, right after the G9, add the divide by 12, and that should fix it. Sorry. Are you good?
Yeah.
Yes?
Okay, so 2 questions. The Agent Financials course, where did you take that?
Hey, Atlanta, you can talk to Bonnie about it.
Okay, so through the board?
No, it's a
Through here.
KW course.
Okay, thank you. And then, where in all of this does the 18,000, the,
You already
the
accounted
cap-
for it in your cost of sales previously, as a percentage. Okay, so, what this does now is now you know what your goals are every single month, right? So what you need to know is, key things, is listings at all time. These are the number of listings that you should be carrying at all time as an active listing. So anytime you put under contract, you have 4. What does that mean? In order to continuously and consistently hit your goal, you need to make sure you have another one coming up that's 5. If you put 2 under contract, what does that mean? Exactly. And then buyers needed at all times is 8, right? So in that number, you know when you're looking at your pipeline in order to hit your goals based on your conversion ratios, that consistently you should have 5 listings at all time and 8 buyers at all times. Okay, so that gives you kind of that pulse when you open up and you start your day on Monday and you're like, I don't have any listings. Well, what should your plan of action be? Got to do whatever it takes to get 5 new listings. Oh, say.
Do you track the number of pendings you need to have to, like to Amisha's point earlier about like having people you're not putting under contract? Do you track the number of pendings you should have at all times?
You do. In that formula, I haven't quite mastered, and my coach tells me what it is every week.
Well, the pending, well,
It's weird.
I think that the pending number is gonna be contingent upon what you have active and what you have closed. That number changes, it changes every
Every time something
every
closes,
time
and
something
goes
closes and
under
every time you
contract.
get new business. So that's a number in time. So right now, I know that I don't have any pending business to close in 2018. Right now, I know I need 9 pending. 50% of the business that I intend to close in first quarter, I need to have from last quarter. That's a short formula right there, 50%.
Okay.
But it changes because if I put 500 contract that's gonna close, I only need to go in with 4. That number changes every day. That's why looking at your business, your business plan and your listings needed every day. I know I have to carry 9 transactions and have 9 pending at all times. Period. So anytime you put something under contract, the number that you need pending goes up by 1. Does that make sense?
Yes. And then it tells you what your monthly listing appointments. Like you go into January 1, you need to go on at least 4 appointments in January, and because your conversion ratio is 50%, you need to take at least 2 listings, and then it tells you how many sold you have to have in that month.
Story behind the numbers. Based on what Becky just said, what's the quickest way to make more money without doing more work?
Increase your price point.
Say loud. Conversion ratio. If you have to go on 4 listing appointments to take 2, that tells me that this person is only converting at 50%. And then they're only closing 1. They're only closing at a 50% rate. If we increase this by 90%, you follow me? How do you increase conversion ratio? Scripts. Role play. It's amazing how a change in how you language things can put more money in your pocket. You don't want to go on more listing appointments because you can't convert them. You want to go on more listing appointments and take more listings. Something you're saying in the listing is not landing. That's the story behind the numbers. That should be in your growth plan. Get my conversion rate up 90%, 95%, so that I can go on either A, less appointments, or B, make more money.
So as you play with it, like if you go back, there are the different areas that you can play with if you're just trying to say, you know, what does it look like if I was to do $125,000 in net income? How does it affect? So $100,000 in net income. Let's say I were to change that, $25,000. Sorry, got a 1. And you go back to your goal sheet. How many more appointments you had to go on to make an extra $25,000?
1 more appointment.
1 more appointment. 1 more listing taken. 1 more seller sold every month. So playing with the numbers in the spreadsheet in the other areas, you can kind of sit there and play with what your goals are. Set your, your realistic goals and set your stretch goals all at once and see where you land. So hopefully this spreadsheet will help you kind of tweak it, and then you know coming into 2018 how many appointments you have to go on. For a seller, how many buyer's appointments you have to go on. How many closings do you need to make happen this month to continue on your goal. Is that helpful?
Very.
So it's actually really eye-opening when you're playing with it, when you're playing with the conversion rates. Take some time with conversion rates. See what the relationship is between your conversion rate and how much money you put in your pocket. I mean, just playing around with those numbers could be really eye-opening on how you could recommit to your own business.
One thing that I did this year to increase my conversion rate is I would not go on an unqualified appointment. I pre-qualify every single appointment. And if you didn't say that you were willing to list with me, I wasn't coming out. If what I say makes sense, are you prepared to list your house with me? If you didn't say yes, I wasn't coming out. Because why?
What do you say when they say no? Okay, we'll call you back.
No, I overcome the objective. Okay, so what would have to happen for you to feel comfortable and confident if what I say makes sense? You would feel comfortable listening with me. What information did I not provide you? Or what information can I provide you?
And all of this is available through all the awesome training we have through the office, Bold, and all of those other classes. It goes back to, there's so many agents here that are like, oh, I'm not a scripter. Does that sound like a script? Yeah. It affects your conversion ratio.
And when you see yourself as a business owner, you're not going on unqualified appointments because it's a waste of your time. I remember there was an agent who called me and said, all these agents are going on these, so he makes FSBO calls and he goes on his FSBO appointment, and the people who went before him in the Ignite class said, oh, we're just coming to preview your house. And he doesn't believe in previewing people's house. He going to list. And when he went to take the listing to the FSBO goes, oh, well, all these other agents said that they have buyers and they came by the preview. That's the only reason why he wouldn't sign a listing appointment, listing agreement. So he tells the seller, well, give me their name and number, and I'll call them and tell them if they have a buyer to bring them by within 24 hours, and if they do, then you don't sign with me. So the agent, the seller, the FSBO, called all the agents and said, hey, you got 24 hours to bring your buyer by. Did those agents have buyers? No. And he got the listing. And this was during Bold.
That's great.
So how many calls do you think he got? A lot. That's a script. I mean, it's like a $300,000 listing. $9,000 because he said something different.
No referral.
The seller took no referral.
No referral.
The seller, the FSBO took, I don't know, he said like 8 or 9 appointments. Yeah, all these people coming to see my house preview. He went in and said, no, I'm not coming to preview. I'm coming to list your house. I'm coming to get it sold. And then he exposed all the agents who went previewing. A script, $9,000, one script. It's that simple. One script changed his income versus the other 9 agents who lied and said they were coming to preview. And that's simply a fear of rejection. Not having a conviction strong enough that when I get there, I'm going to sell the house versus selling you something that makes me comfortable. And at the end of the day, 9 agents went, probably spent an hour to 2 hours, and can they get that time back? No. And did they make any money?
No.
No, but they can say they went on a listing appointment, which further does what to their conversion rate. And I wish I could tell the 9 agents, hey, stop telling FSBOs you're going to preview their house. It cost you $9,000. Do they know that it cost them $9,000? Well, they know they didn't get the listing, but they don't know why. Okay? So that's where skill, we keep going back to the story behind the numbers. We're growing as agents too, right? We're growing as business owners too. So last year I was all about the numbers. We were all about the numbers. This year I'm about the story behind the numbers because that's what's going to make you the money. Don't be afraid to expose a skill deficiency. Face it. If your conversion rate is 50%, you have a skill deficiency. If you have a 95 conversion rate, you have a 5% skill deficiency. Okay? Address that. In your growth plan, addressing conversion rates is critical. Presentation critical. Overcoming objections critical. And you making more money. Becky, you want to add?
So the next step is likely the GPS. Does everybody know what a GPS is? Yes. What does it stand for?
Goals, strategies, priorities. Goals, priorities, strategies.
Goals, priorities, and strategies. Exactly. That is the next part of your business planning is that create the plan that gets you the appointments, but also builds in the skills to get you where you need to go. And the key things that we have in our business plan as well that we do is we have a growth plan that we work on. The growth plan, addresses events that we're planning to go to, training classes that we're taking, books that we plan on reading, all of that. For every single month, we at least have one in each category to ensure that we're building the skills in all the areas that we need to ensure we hit our goals.
And a growth plan is not just about going to mega camp, going to family reunion, because you can do all those things and come back and still have a 50% conversion rate. Let's not spend a whole bunch of money on events if you're converting at 50 to 75%. Let's have scripts, dialogue, role play, shadowing, interviewing mega agents on your growth plan. Something that's going to directly impact your skill, that's not going to cost you a lot of money, that you're not making because you're not converting at a high level. Okay, it's not about flying to Austin for a mega camp if you can't overcome an objection.
Your growth plan should have a focus around it. You know, for me in 2017, the focus for my growth plan was really just around leverage, becoming a master at hiring and identifying talent. So I will spend the entire year on that. Try again next year. You know, so when you're looking at your growth plan, don't be looking for squirrels there either, because you likely could.
Speaking of squirrels, how valuable would you say your coach Kate has been to your business? And kind of,
Kate
I know
commercial.
we're running against time, but for those
We have
that
a
are
lot of people in
interested-
MAPS coaching. Like the number of agents that have committed to coaching in our office has increased a lot. Like Mike Martino, Dad Martino, I mean McCarty's, like they can share their coaching experiences too. Our coach is not taking anybody else.
Right, I know, Kate, I'm just saying in general, cause there's
Yeah.
different levels for those that don't know, that you can have like an individual coach and that's an X amount of dollars. But you can do like group coaching.
Yeah, I think the group
The
coaching is
platforms
powerful.
are really, really good for coaching.
I mean, we do the group coaching. We took language of sales with Kate Patulski this year. Well, some of us finished it. Osei took
The point is on a roll.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually language of sales going on right now.
That's a great
Osei,
class.
how did it affect your business?
It affected my life. My business.
Yeah.
The way I talk to everyone in my life has changed.
Even if you just did one, I mean, there were some really powerful ones. If next year your plan is open houses, there's an open house group coaching program going on right now.
Here's what I have to say about a coach. I just looked up and happened to get Kate. And besides the fact that we coach with her, I can't imagine being in business without a coach. Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And unless somebody is holding you accountable, like, I'll be honest, there's no way I would have looked at my business plan 40 times this year had I not had a coach. Because who's going to cause me to look at it? Who's going to be intentional? Who's going to be intentional about exposing your blind spots? Who's going to cause you to think like a business owner? I mean, and what great athlete doesn't have a coach? Like, what championship team doesn't have a coach?
Or 5 or 6.
Right.
Don't forget, I'm a productivity coach for the new age.
So you have a coach here. I cannot imagine being in business without a coach. I will not be in business. The day that I decide that I don't need a coach, I'm getting out of the business because I'm gonna play at it. I'm not gonna treat it like a business. I know that about myself.
Creates a different level of mastery in the process.
I feel a certain type of way when I get on the phone with my coach and I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. I can't imagine not getting on a call with a coach. I can't even imagine what it would look like if my coach would not have forced me to, compelled me, demanded that I look at my P&L every month. I would have never got QuickBooks. I would have never hired a bookkeeper. I would have never hired a real CPA to evaluate my business. It's non-negotiable. Even if Kate stops coaching, I will either hire another coach or I will get out of the business.
Coach also helps you get there faster. Just the trajectory it can have on your business. RJ?
Well, it's an outsider, and like I said, we do have a great resource here in Bonnie. It's an outsider looking at your business, forcing you to look at it. You know, but you don't like it, but whatever. And it's also, it's a relief because you know what you have to do. You gotta get some appointments or whatever it is. You look at it, you gotta get on the phone.
A coach is not a babysitter. If you think it's somebody that's gonna call you to make sure you did what you're supposed to do every week, it is not that at all.
Right.
And actually, if it becomes that, our coach pretty much fires you. She does not babysit you. She is here to grow into the conversation that's in alignment with the business plan you said you were gonna do.
It's all about the results. Your business coach is not increasing your business more than what it's costing you. You are likely in the wrong relationship. It goes back to you're not growing your business at the trajectory that you need to. You likely need a relationship.
Because coaches can't make calls for you. They can increase your skill to make you more efficient. They can hold you accountable to if you make the calls, but they can't make the calls for you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just adding up how much life costs. It's so expensive. I don't even want. I don't want to look at it. Oh, are you? I'm not. I'm like an ignorance is bliss type of person. If I don't know how much I'm spending, I don't have to think so.
See, I spend so much, I gotta see where it's going.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find.
Oh,
I gotta track
I'm gonna hit traffic regardless. I'm gonna try to get ahead of some of it.
Yeah.
Gwinnett?
Okay.
Oh, you're in Gwinnett?
I'm like Tucker Norcross.
Okay.
Half on the travel and half on
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know all about that traffic.
Did I show you guys over there my open house? Who my sponsor is for my last open house on Sunday?
What's the sponsor?
Yeah, what?
To get the
house.
Oh.
A mouse? Aw, it's cute. Oh, it's a cute one though.
I was chasing him around, right? And he goes underneath the stove. And like his garbage can lid.
Oh my gosh, did you kill him?
No, I was trying to trap him. And then I threw the can and it hit the tail. So he got out of that. Like back under the stove. As soon as that happened, two women walked in. And I'm like, oh my god. So I was so distracted. I was so nervous. I just kept looking down at the stove. I was like kicking it, trying to keep it under there.
Keep
and
it under there?
There were two women walking in.
Oh my god.
It was like a sitcom. It was like crazy.
Oh, that's crazy.
Don't make my smile.
Bye.
When you're in the house, that's what you just said.
Are you going to your office?
Yeah.
Alright, we'll see you later. Oh, what?
I'm hungry. Learn me numbers.
He says, look up constructive business practice. Okay. Look it up. Construction is a legal term. It didn't mean, I left my job, not because I wanted to, because I felt like I had no recourse. But the environment became so, the environment became so hostile that I felt like I had no recourse. I was like, thank you very much, that's where I am. So in essence, probably that's a termination. Because I need people to file, I need to file a grievance against that job.
Like,
So I'm waiting to hear from the.
Don't tell me twice.
And all I really want, the attorney wants to go for money. I just want to take my retirement.
You're welcome.
So,
I want
yeah,
to take
you
a
just wanna get
retirement.
it right.
Yeah.
So if you won that case, will it be taken to court?
CDC service. And it's all mess for you can reverse my resignation and go without pay to keep me on the record.
Right.
So that I'm still
Right,
earning
and that's
my
all,
time.
yeah. Because you don't want to drama, you just want.
I'm right. And then, like I said, preserve self.
Yeah. I'm gonna work on my listing preservation. Hey, who's ready?
We'll see.
Jackie's her birthday today. Okay, I'm gonna drop this.
So we'll see.
When now?
Well, no, when I like the rest of them.
Oh.
I gotta go see who it is.
Whoever it is sounds like me.
But they were very sure.
You know, my sister works at university. She's in contract.
I was in for a couple of days.
She's the contract manager for the new Spider-Man that won't come out. Well, I think it's coming out in 2018 now.
Yeah.
It sounded so far away back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was just fun.
Yeah, that's good. Was it 40 guys?
Yeah.
Because everybody's spread far and wide now, or?
Well, no, they're all here, but we just don't, I mean, everybody's got
Yeah, their own.
different schedules.
Yeah.
We decided, you know, just one idea I had for something fun to do.
Yeah. Was it a big birthday for you?
It was
Yeah. How old were you?
60.
Oh, I knew it wasn't gonna be 70 or 50. I should have known.
Right there. But anyway, it was,
It's fun.